I have no idea what to do for an intro. Do you just want to start?
Yeah, this one's a little heavy, so I don't really. It doesn't feel right to make any kind of our weird, dumb, but also very good jokes that we normally do.
I mean, it might make it fun and lighthearted. So this is British. Do you want to start from there?
That makes things a lot better. Thank you. Yeah, we can get started. Welcome, everyone, to the Comixology Club, a show where we get together, we drink together, but more importantly, we read together. The we I'm talking about is me, Snoop Lynch, and my co-host, Higgins Term.
Hey, that's me.
He's right there every month, all the time. New cat's rubbing against my foot.
We're back together sooner than ever because we got a busy month ahead of us.
So busy. You're going to be away for a little bit.
Yeah, I'm going to be gone for like a week, so we had to go a little earlier.
Yeah, luckily, though, you know what's really important in your life, and that's being back in time for next month's episode when we do that. So thank you. And thank you for making the time this week to record the episode that they're listening to now. We're going to talk about a book. We're going to talk about a drink. Which of those would you like to talk about first, Higgins?
I mean, I think the people would probably want to drink a drink while we talk about this because, you know, there's some hard-hitting topics and maybe they want to, I don't know.
You're thinking that they need like an alcoholic bevy to really wash down some of the heavy literature we're going to be discussing.
Yeah. So I picked a drink called Loneliness.
Turns out you don't just have to feel it; you can drink it too.
Yeah, I couldn't find anything. That was about the best I could do. I tried to like look up to see if like Zoe Thorogood had like a favorite cocktail and couldn't really come across anything. And
I don't know if she does really that much drinking in this book.
She's
doing some smoking.
She drinks in the very beginning.
Okay.
There's like a bottle with like a skull and crossbones on it. I don't know if that's like her actually drinking or if it's like just a metaphor.
A metaphor, some meta commentary, perhaps. Yeah, we'll talk a bit about that and what that could mean. For right now, though, tell me what's in the drink that you ended up picking.
But this drink has vodka in it, and it's got about a shot's worth of vodka, and then half a shot's worth of lemon juice, half a shot's worth of vanilla syrup, which happen to have because people put it in coffee, apparently.
And one person specifically, your girlfriend Bethany, who's on the episode last month.
Last one. She happened to have it. Mm-hmm. Thanks, Bethany.
Thank you.
And a couple dashes of orange bitters. And I'm trying to think if there's anything else before the real showstopper. I think besides that, it's just some egg whites. Hey, now you can hear again.
Yeah, sorry. New cat disconnected my headphones, that little rascal.
But egg whites. We're bringing eggs back, folks, and this time we're using the white part instead of the yolk part like we did last time. And let me tell you, folks, it made it kind of fluffy.
Yeah, I think that's kind of the main point of it, right? Is just it adds a different kind of texture, something creamier, if you will.
Yeah, he's probably gonna have to go, huh?
Yeah, I don't know why he can't sit still. Like, I get it. We all love podcasting. We do, but
he doesn't do anything until we hit the record button.
Yeah. There's acting right, and then there's acting out, new cat, and you're doing the latter. Oh, bye. And if you heard that thud, it wasn't Higgins tossing his pet onto the floor from like 4 feet high. And if he did, that's fine, because it's a cat. It can land on its feet.
Yeah, cats land on their feet. He likes it.
All the time. He loves it. I like this drink. It's not my favorite. What I do like that it has going for it is, and I guess that's kind of the metaphor behind the name of the Loneliness drink is... It's got a lot of sour, but then just a little bit of sweet to balance some things out for you.
It kind of tastes like a lemon drop or whatever those like lemon heads.
Yeah, the shot or
the little
oh no, the candy.
The shot but I'm talking about those candies, those little lemon head candies or whatever. I kind of think it tastes like that.
The sucker thing where you pour the little sour juice on it.
No, it's just like a little yellow ball.
Oh yeah, okay, gotcha.
That tastes like lemons.
And those aren't my favorite. I don't like that kind of candy. I'm more of a chocolatey kind of guy, but in drink form though, this is pretty solid.
Yeah, I like it. Yeah. It doesn't hit you in the back of the throat too much.
Mm-hmm. And I'm always happy to get that egg in me. You know that, Higgins.
Yeah, I can't taste any alcohol. I'm getting the vanilla, The vanilla kind of counteracts the
Cuts
lemon
through.
pretty good.
Yeah. A lot of bitterness though. Like that is one thing. If you don't like the sour kind of fruity drinks, this is not going to be your friend.
And if you,
Me.
yeah, you Snoop,
Okay.
like I do, know anybody that likes a sour drink, it's our good buddy Michael Lopez,
Oh, that's right.
who owns the business that sponsors this podcast.
Higgins, I'm so glad because I already forgot again. Like I forgot last episode.
I thought you might have, so I was just like, I'm just going to put it near the front.
I don't know why. It's not him. Like it's not the business. It's just
You're just so excited to talk about the book this week.
I really am. But let's switch over to the business stuff and not get that out of the way. It's not the right words because we love talking about 008 Studios, don't we, Higgins?
Just get in there, give the people what they want, and then give the people what they want.
Exactly. Sponsors. Michael is the sponsor of this show, his business specifically 008 Studios, which, Higgins, you might be wondering, what does that mean, those numbers and that person that does this business?
I actually have never asked him what the numbers meant. I'm too afraid to ask at this point.
You're afraid that'll pull the sponsorship or punch you in the gut.
I thought it might be like a James Bond thing.
I feel like I've asked him once before. It's probably related to something in his past that means something personal to him. Let's see. He was in... Oh, God, he's going to kill me if I get this wrong.
He's in the Navy?
Navy? Okay. And I think it might be tied to that somehow. Like, it might be a number that represents him. Because, you know, they don't give you names back then. Or they'll give you your last name. Or they'll just give you a number, probably. I don't know. I'll ask him, and then next episode... I'll come back to this and really explain it.
That's right. He was the 8th Navy man that we had
ever. And he's the best businessman that we have today. The business 008 Studios, regardless of what it stands for or against, they make things. They help you make things specifically. So, like, if you're into books, comics, video games even, not music, as Higgins and I love to point out. We don't want people getting their hopes up. But those other things... He's wanting to help you make them. He's just gung-ho for it. And so you contact Michael. You can go to the link that I'm going to leave at the bottom of this episode description and check that out. Get in touch with him. Say, like, I've got an idea for a thing. Michael knows the process. He's made his own thing. The Eternal Crown, Dawning of the Red Sun.
And he's got another thing coming up.
A few things.
A sequel to that book. Mm-hmm. That's The Trial of the Clergy.
Mm-hmm. The other thing you're talking about, though, is the Icarus Initiative, which is the big transmedia project we've mentioned in prior episodes. It's going to, I think, start out as a book, still written by Michael, still drawn by the same artist who did his first book, Ashley Torella, I think is
there you go. That sounds like that sounds right.
Really good artist, really good pairing. And that's going to be like his big sci-fi project. So he's going to start with a book, and then at some point later down the line, he's going to come out with like a prequel video game series kind of thing. And it's just going to, grow from there.
The thing is coming, folks.
Yeah,
don't worry.
Yeah,
we're getting that initiative, and I'm excited.
I am too.
More things to get in me.
Mm-hmm, exactly. Just like that egg, you're going to get that book writing you when it comes out.
And all of those things he's making and all of the things that you guys could be making, I'm just trying to get them in me, folks. So give that guy a call and make those things so we can get it in us.
Yeah. So that's going to be the thing that you do this episode, I guess?
I guess so.
Okay, cool. That's fine. I'm all right with it. I like it. So yes, check out Michael's projects. If you're not a creator, that's fine. I mean, we barely are. We do this, and that's pretty much it. But you can still read his stuff and buy his stuff, and you should, because as someone who reads like maybe one novel every 10 years, his is the one novel I decided to read.
Just think if Michael keeps writing novels, you might bump that up to one a year.
Higgins, well, all right, I got to learn to walk before I can run. Maybe like one every 5 years.
Yeah.
But if that was the case, it wouldn't be a bad deal for me to just be reading Michael's stuff. So yeah, check it out. And check out any of the episodes he's done with us. I think he's done 2. One on his own book, one on a Darth Vader book.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that one.
Because I never forget a podcast we do, except the prior like 48 that we've done. I'm not going to forget about what we're talking about today, though, and that's this book. It's Lonely at the Center of the Earth.
By Zoe Thorogood.
You took the words right out of my mouth, quite literally.
Did you say center right, though? It's spelled century.
Oh, yeah, it's Centra, isn't it? It's Lonely at the Center of the Earth by Zoe Thorogood. Thanks, Higgins. Thanks for catching that. An
autobiographic novel.
Mm-hmm. Now, Higgins, that's some words that probably mean something.
So it's like, like an autobiography? Autobiography. But graphic novel because there's pictures.
All right, now, Higgins.
And now I'm doing finger guns at Snoop. So he knows that I know that he knows what I'm talking about.
now I get it. Well, not really, but that's mostly just because, as I mentioned, I only read one book every 10 years. And so I get the graphic novel part, not so much the autobiography part.
Well, it's I guess it's kind of like a memoir autobiography. She's
Because I know what an autobiography is. I'm just messing with you.
God dang, man.
This is an interesting...
I don't even know where to go sometimes.
This is an interesting way to play with the format of both of those, though. And Zoe Thorogood, very fresh on the scene. They call her the future of comics or whatever.
The future of comics.
Yeah, and
I'm like, I don't know. This book, it's very weird and kind of sad, but like, I want to read all of the 2 other things that she's made after reading this.
yes,
Probably one of the most fun I've had, like, reading a comic, like, in a while.
it's definitely one of the most refreshing experiences that I've had in comics in a very long time. I really like this. I'll go more into kind of why. A little bit about her, though, and kind of this book in particular. So this book was done by Image, written, created, and drawn by Zoe Thorogood. Came out in November of 2022. So
I really got a fresh one on the board for us.
Yeah, this was one of your random Amazon clicks, right?
Yeah.
Like they just kept pushing in on you.
It kept pushing
on
it.
you.
Yeah, and I was like, that looks pretty good. What's that girl doing spinning around in a circle? I honestly thought she was in space at some point. I didn't really know what the picture was. I didn't know what it was about. Could it be a sci-fi? Could it be a I didn't know.
I mean, honestly, like the cover is probably one of the more toned down illustrations she has. This book gets real weird real quickly, and I quite enjoy it. This, as you said, I've got a synopsis, but you basically just summed it up. It's basically she took 6 months just kind of recording important moments in her life and turned it into this book. So it's a
Whether she knew what it was or not.
yeah, it was kind of just I guess almost like an experiment for her and something she just really needed to do. And then she put it out for us to read. Very like I don't think I could have shown anyone this. It's amazing. I just want to point that out. Like this is a fantastic, and just to have it be made by one person, and then you consider how young this girl is. I looked it up. She's turning 25 this year.
Wow.
And she's done 2 other comics.
Billy something?
It's called The Impending Blindness of Billy Scott.
Yeah, and then Rain.
Joe Hill's Rain. So she, I think, did the same thing with this on
She drew Rain. She didn't like make Rain, right?
Yes, I don't know if Joe Hill's the person that wrote that or it's just part of the title, but she drew for that.
I think Joe Hill's is that not like Stephen King's son's like
his pen name or something?
Pseudonym or something like that?
Potentially, yeah.
I think it might be.
I think you might be right.
I might be talking out of my ass. And like my friend told me I was the other episode when I said that Jane was Mark Wahlberg's brother.
He's a Baldwin?
Yeah, he's a Baldwin, but he's not a Baldwin.
Oh.
Yeah, he just has the same last name. He's not related to him.
Really?
Yeah.
Maybe that's how he got in, though. Maybe he just pretended to be related to the Baldwins. Because you try it, right? Just to get your big break.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So I might be talking out of my ass, but
You might not be.
I might not be. And if you guys would just email in and tell me I am, then maybe I'd learn something.
If you could just do him that kindness, please.
But only Zach does, so...
Maybe. I haven't checked the email in a while. I'll check before we end and see. And then if it turns out we have nothing, I'll record that so people know to do better and send us more things. Just kidding. Listen and interact however little you want to. And listen to us talk more about Zoe and her fantastic storytelling. I find this girl, her story and just how she approaches things, her creative kind of projects she chooses and how she chooses to do it, very, very fascinating. I'm going to link this in this episode description in case anyone's interested, but I found a interview with her on a YouTube channel called Comics Experience. That's comics with an X, Higgins.
Oh, kind of like us.
Yeah, super extreme and cool, just like us, yep. So I don't remember the guy who's interviewing her. It's his channel, but basically he just asked her, kind of like, how'd you get into comics? That was kind of the first question. I haven't watched all of it, but I did watch that little blurb, and just to kind of hear her talk about how she got into this medium and what it does for her, it's a very different approach from what we're probably used to getting from other writers. Basically, she grew up wanting to tell stories. That's always kind of been her thing. She's like, I want to be a storyteller. She started with writing, and then she discovered like, just writing isn't really my thing. She ended up going into theater for many years, and that was like a very big thing, very informative for her life early on. And then it just kind of kept bouncing around from one creative endeavor to another, and she actually says what she really is passionate about is video games. She loves video games, but as you could probably tell, Higgins, after reading the story, she has a lot kind of go in her head, dealing with mental illness, depression, anxiety, like just crazy dark thoughts from time to time. And the biggest thing for her, and one thing I definitely relate to, is insecurity around people you don't know, people you do know even. And so video games involves working with a lot of different people.
Yeah, you talk to a lot of people, and it's like one person in a big sea of people making stuff.
And one thing she said about that kind of stood out to me is her main goal is to just tell stories. Well, if she has a story that she wants to tell, she's also very passionate about that and a bit headstrong about it as well. Like, she doesn't really want to budge on what the story is or how she's telling it. And so you can't really do that in a lot of those different backgrounds that she has.
You have to be willing to make a sacrifice. Mm-hmm. And especially like with a book like this, she got full reign. So
yeah, and that's why she got into comics. She said it's something, it's a medium that I can draw and I can write, and more importantly, I can do this on my own. And I think she uses the word selfishly, do this on my own.
Yeah.
She doesn't have to, like you said, she gets free reign. She doesn't have to, I mean, obviously if she's working with a publisher, they probably have some notes and she probably at least takes it into account, but it's mostly her driving this from beginning to end. And that's how she ended up in comics. And she goes on to say she doesn't know how many comics she actually has in her. I get that. And I respect it, because if you don't want to, if you don't have the stories, or if you don't have the passion for those stories, then I don't really probably want to read most of your comics.
I mean, honestly, at the end of the day, even if she doesn't have that many stories, just like the art alone that she's putting in this, she could be part of comics for a long time.
Oh, absolutely. She's extremely talented. Her art in particular is crazy. In that same interview, she talked about growing up, her teachers told her that she was the worst artist in the class.
Oh, that's like, that comes up in the book even. Like, you see her like drawing in front of like her teachers, and they're like telling her that you're not going to be able to do this.
Yeah.
And stuff like that. And then I'm like looking at like all of the stuff that she's drawing, like even her like drawing herself drawing stuff, and you're like, what? Where are these people? Where are these people coming from? Or did she just like throw herself into it and make it to where she could?
And that seems to
put it in there.
Yeah. And that seems to be exactly kind of what she did. One thing she did say about that is the teachers, in a way, at the time at least, were right. Like, she says herself she was the worst one in the class. But one good thing that did for her is it made her push herself. She put in the time and the effort, and now she's a fantastic artist. Like, the writing in this is very, very good, and I think a lot of that just has to do with the fact that it's her story, so she's putting a lot of herself into it, and it's just coming out so organically. And Higgins, if you don't mind me using the word, relatable.
Yeah, no. It's a lot of stream of consciousness stuff, which, like, honestly, a little refreshing, because like you'll be going story, and then you get a fun little page that doesn't really have anything to do with the story, where you're like, she was probably just sitting in a room and decided she wanted to draw like a zombie video game panel.
Yeah. And what's nice about that, though, is it, like you were saying, it doesn't necessarily tie back to the story, but it makes the story work. It keeps the energy upbeat. It keeps it it moves at a clip, this story. And what I do like about that is this is a very depressing story in a lot of ways. It's heavy stuff. You're talking suicide. You're talking just self-doubt, like question of self-worth. Like, and it's also raw and vulnerable. And so to have those little moments of, what I do like about her sense of humor is it is very self-deprecating, and in the same way it can add this levity to this book, because it's almost like as I was reading it, she would say something or the narrative would go somewhere and my mind would instantly question, like, oh man, this is kind of messed up, or this is, getting a little ridiculous. And it's almost like she answers your question as you're coming up with it in your head, because you turn the page and then it addresses a lot of that stuff. And it does it in a way that you kind of can't help but laugh. Like, it's still sad and it's still very real, but she's adding that little bit of humor back into it, which is nice.
And she does that a lot with, like, there's like 4 or 5 like different versions of herself that are like constantly like talking to each other,
all drawn in different art styles. Yeah.
there's like a younger version, a newer version, like a plain, just like white figure version, and like those are some of the like best scenes where she's kind of just like working through her thoughts by herself. And like on top of this, like I think like a lot of what she wrote in this was kind of in the panorama times, so she's kind of probably alone in her thoughts a lot, right?
Yeah, you see a lot of kind of just familiar scenes from not that long ago of just like turn on the news, this many people died from the pandy, and it just I didn't normally that I'm very just kind of irritated by anything referencing that stuff, but it needs to happen in this because
I mean, because it was in that 6 months where she was writing this book, which is about herself,
and also what it does is it lets you know like, oh, this is part of the reason why she was in the mindset that she was in during those 6 months. Like everybody,
she's alone by herself in an apartment with no one to talk to when she already has like some like the bad thoughts in her head.
Yeah, and what's crazy about this is this girl she lives in the UK. She's just about to turn 25. Like I couldn't have any less in common with this girl on like a surface level. But what she was able to do with this story is show me parts of myself in a different person, and in a person, again, I didn't think I had anything in common with. And for me to have a lot of this stuff, like the chronic anxiety and depression, in common with this girl that I've never met and probably will never meet, like that's such a kind of a raw part of myself, and yet it's something we share a lot in common. Like it's not, our stories aren't exactly the same. It's not what I'm trying to say, but it's crazy that she says things and things happen in her life that are just, I don't know. It hit with me in a way where when you go through this stuff, when you have these thoughts, it's honestly like a rash where it flares up out of nowhere, and then you try to you try to give care and attention to it, and eventually things calm down and you start to feel a little better. Eventually you can kind of get to a point where you're like, this was a distant memory, like I feel so much better now. And then next thing you know, it takes a word, a person, just seeing one thing, and then it just comes back up, and it's exhausting to go through that over and over again. And to see someone else tell a story like that, and just, it was really, in a lot of ways, it was refreshing. And there is that kind of joke where she's at a comic convention and people are coming up to her because she's starting to get her stories out there. People are starting to hear her name, and they're like, oh, like, thanks, like, this was so relatable. You're very relatable. It's kind of played as a joke. And the thing is, they're saying it's relatable. What they really should be saying, and what they're probably intending to say, is thank you.
Yeah, just like, thank you for letting me see myself in a book. Thank you for letting me see that even you, a relatively new and up and coming, like, famous comic book writer, is also going through the same thing that I'm going through.
Yeah, it's so easy to look at someone else on a surface level, their Instagram, their whatever, and see like, oh, you're amazing, like you have no doubts, you have no fears, like you're great. But then for that same person to put out a book like this, to just show this side of themselves that not a lot of people want to talk about, that these kinds of issues that they have. A lot of people suffer through this, a lot of similar stuff. That's the thing about this too, is there's so many layers to this, and so many different ways to kind of take it. Like I've never had suicidal thoughts. I've never gone to that place. And so I don't necessarily get as much of those scenes, like get as much out of those scenes, I guess, as someone who did. But I love that they're there. And I imagine that in a lot of ways, they help a lot of people to see that. And it's not even so much that it's, oh, they're having the same issue, this is how they fixed it. That's not a lot of times what people going through these kinds of things are looking for. A lot of times they just don't want to feel that loneliness. They don't want to feel like they're the only ones who struggle with these kinds of thoughts. And that is enough to help them in some ways.
Not even like, like you're saying, like not trying to see a fix to the situation in a book, but just to see that maybe I'm not as lonely in this as I may think I am.
One thing that she talks about in particular that, again, it really made an impact on me was, one thing that people can struggle with is and this is more so in like introverted people, they do like people. They do. They like being around people. However, it can be tough to be around people, even people you've known for years. And that's nothing that that person necessarily has done to hurt you or whatever. It's just, it's more of a, you start to question, why would this person want to be around me? Because when you have so many different problems with yourself, you don't understand why you don't understand why anyone would want to be around you, but also it gets to a point where you want to isolate yourself to, quote unquote, save that person from being around someone like you. And
yeah, and that comes up a lot with her friend that I can't think of the name of
Izzy.
right now. Yeah, Izzy, the pigeon.
Yeah.
That is just like, honestly, the polar opposite of Zoe.
Yes.
She is just like,
She's very
just
bubbly.
like bounces
and,
off the
yeah.
wall, like always ready to do something, always ready to. They get high a lot. They hang out. She's like, she basically forced them to be friends. Izzy did.
Yes.
They just like ran into her, started talking to her, never let her like
You just keep talking until they
find
give
a
back.
breath.
Yeah.
And I feel like a lot of the time that's like some of those friendships ends up working. It's like you find somebody that's willing to, they're the type of person that could talk to a brick wall almost, and it's like they're okay letting you be yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Like obviously a person like Zoe who is introverted and dealing with that stuff, she's like, I might need to hold myself up and not deal with that every now and again.
Mm-hmm.
But Izzy's always there to come right back in when she is ready for it.
Mm-hmm.
She's not the type of friend that like disappears because she needed a second to like just be at home.
Yeah, yeah. And what's nice about their dynamic too is there's some real love there, but there's also some real problems that come up, and you get to see that as well. So there's a
They're
point
going
where
to that comic convention that we were talking about.
yeah, and Izzy is supposed to be with her. You know, she asked her like, "Hey, will you come with me to this, because this is just a huge thing for me, and I'm already like, I hate everything about this."
Yeah, I'm already scared. I don't want to be here by myself. I want to do this, but I don't think I can do this by myself.
Yeah, which if you think about it, a person like Zoe, even asking someone else of this, like asking someone to take time out of their day to like support me and do a thing that I want to do, a lot of times for people, that's a big thing too, because when you already have this feeling of like, gosh, like I've tricked my friends into thinking I'm great enough to be around, you want to do as little as possible to upset them or push them away, because you don't, like, in a way it's like you don't want them to realize the real you that you're afraid of everyone seeing. And so for her to ask that is already a huge thing. And unfortunately, they have a bit of a fun night, too fun, and Izzy is hungover and she decides she can't make it to the comic convention, and like that's heartbreaking to see, because to have a person like Zoe ask something of this and then
the person not be able to show up.
Yeah, it's just it's big. But what I do like is they don't end it there, because Izzy, being the friend that she is still a good friend and comes back around. You know, she couldn't make it exactly when they were planning to.
She couldn't make it the day of like the setup, but she woke up at.
She came as soon as she could.
Who knows how early she woke up? Because like she got there at like 6 a.m.
Yeah,
and like I think it was like a 20-minute bus ride or something like that. But she like got there at like 6 o'clock in the morning and made sure her friend was comfortable.
Yeah.
When like the actual people came up, and sure, like Zoe, I guess would have liked for her to be there when the setup happens, especially like when you're first like getting to something like that, where it's like your first time doing something like that. You want someone there with you to like basically be the intro to the convention, I guess.
Yeah, you want that little bit of something familiar, so you can handle all of this different that you're experiencing. And it's a good different for her, because this is going to lead to something. You know, it's like people are going to see her, they're going to talk to her, they're going to want her to do more work. Like that's the idea. That's what you're going for, is to get that. And the thing is, there isn't a guarantee, but that's what you're hoping for. But again, when you have, and it really just applies to anybody, imagine going through this for the first time, but especially a person like Zoe, like she needs that anchor, she needs that lifeline, and I'm glad that she's able to get it. And I also like that, I don't even think we really see Izzy's character after that, but that was the point, is to show like there's a good friendship here, and they both do something good for each other.
Basically, her only friend that she lets in to like see like most of her life.
Yeah,
is what at least what we see in here.
Exactly, because like this side of her is her life. Like this is Zoe Thorogood, and we've talked about the art a little bit. Like the art is stellar. I love what she's able to do with panel layout and use of color, and like it's all here, and it's all just so different. But what I love about it too is that it's not taken too far. She has a mastery of certain aspects of both her writing and her art, and they're on full display here, and they're paired so well, and it's frenetic, it's exhausting, it adds tension when it's supposed to. Like there's this creepy figure that represents her depression.
Yeah, her depression. That thing's it reminds me of
Totoro?
No, the other Spirited Away
Spirited
guy.
Away, yeah.
I can't remember what that.
The guys with the masks.
Yeah, the guy with the like the black shadow figure with the mask, and it's basically what it looks like.
If Josh is
just
listening,
with like a scarier face though.
Yeah, if Josh is listening, he'd probably be yelling it right now because I know he knows. I'll ask him about it.
But it's that kind of thing with like almost like a meme face on top of that.
It is, yeah. You can definitely tell a lot of influences from other things come into this, but she just makes it her own, and it's amazing. One thing she said in that interview that really inspired her is video games, and this idea of playing with the format that she's in came from that. She says she loves indie games for that reason. You know, they're pared down on budget and not necessarily story, but just a lot of the stuff you see in AAA games, like a lot of the fluff and everything.
Yeah,
you can't do that for money reasons, so you have to be creative. And one game she talked about in particular that gave her the idea for the art in this was a Doki Doki Literature Club. Do you know what that is?
I've heard people talk about it more than a couple times, but I know it's like what's it called?
Dating sim.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Basically.
So basically, it is a dating sim, but what they're doing in it is it turns into this real dark, like kind of horrific storyline.
Yeah.
Because if you think about the idea of dating sims and just like the stories in general, it's just one character just schmoozing all of the ladies or the guys until he picks the one that he wants. This kind of goes into, yeah, but what about the other characters, and like what does that do to their psyche? And what they also do in that game is just the gameplay is kind of next level. Like I think if you're on PC, if you play it, there's bits where it hacks into your file system and like changes things, and you have to exit out of the game and like move certain files around. Like it's that in depth.
Yeah.
So she loved the idea of doing something like that, but in comics, and you see that in this. I mean, even talking about how
I'm looking at it right now.
Yeah, she has 5 different versions of herself that kind of represent different pieces of her, and they all have a different art style. One of them is very manga anime influenced. You know, the big eyes, the little kind of short chibi kind of build, like, and then there's one that's just it almost looks like what is that book series? The Diary of a Wimpy Kid.
Yeah,
like, kind of has that vibe going for me a little bit, and that's the one that's just very sarcastic and kind of mean to her, just telling her everything that she hates about herself.
And that's kind of the face she puts on herself
most of the time. Yeah.
And like you were talking about with like the game or whatever, where it like just jumps, like the story just jumps off the rails. Like she's chasing that dog at one point, and then like a little like Satan like literally like grabs it.
Yes.
And she's like kind of doing like a type your own adventure like script thing with it, and it's like Zoe does this or blah blah blah.
Yeah, instead of like showing it in the art, she just switches to like a quick little
panel
kind of
2.
type.
This is what happens.
Yeah, in a script format, and she'll also throw in real pictures of herself in there a couple points.
Right at the very end,
yeah. Even just the structure of the story is very kind of experimental. Like, I think it's about halfway through, she has a line about how she's like, wait a minute, what I love about writing is that I call the shots, and then the story
like
just starts over.
Oh yeah, like you just get the entire like cover again.
Yeah, and
I was like, oh, that's kind of cool.
And what is cool about that is it keeps things fresh, because this isn't a slow story to read. It's very, because of the kind of frenetic nature of it, you breeze through it, but it is a lot of pages. But having something like even that in there, just it kind of resets the palette. You know, it's like, oh, we're like this is kind of a new book now. And it's not really, you know that, but it almost plays that trick on your mind. And it also gives someone like me who doesn't work in comics but really loves, what people can do with it. It shows you kind of every aspect of how it's done. She's, instead of, like you were saying, instead of just drawing what's happening, she's kind of doing it in this fun kind of typography way, or she's just straight up showing you script pages. Like it's fascinating to come at as someone who, again, loves comics but doesn't work in them. But seeing that little bit, just it adds something to this, I think.
Yeah, I think one of my favorite parts was like it's just literally like a text conversation just coming from her, where she's like texting us basically and telling us a story about this one time where she hated going out of her room during college, and like she was like, I'm never leaving my room. I don't want to see my roommates. And then all of a sudden she was like real happy about something. She was like, I'm going to make myself a cheeky little sweet potato.
Yeah, that's what it was.
And so she comes out and all three of her roommates are in the kitchen and she's like, well, I'm not going to do that anymore. And so she just walks out the door with a sweet potato in her hand. And she's like, well, now I'm just outside in my pajamas without shoes and a sweet potato.
Uncooked.
And I don't have my keys now because I didn't plan to leave the house.
Yeah.
And so she was like, the only thing I can think to do now is get rid of this sweet potato. Because if I come back inside they're going to be like, why'd you do that?
Yeah, like it's an insane thing to do, but also like, I won't say it wouldn't be something that also crossed my mind if put in a similar situation. And again, what I love about her perspective on things and that she can, kind of play a lot into is people that are like this don't hate people. Like, she didn't do that because she hated her roommates. She doesn't even really know her roommates. And it's not that she doesn't want to. It's just, it's hard.
Yeah, it's hard to get to know the folks.
Sometimes people just, the hardest thing they could ever do, like this girl can read, or sorry, well, she can read, I assume, but this girl can write, she can draw, like just 10 times better than most people who would even touch this book. Talking to someone, just a new person, or even someone she hasn't seen in a while but does know, terrifying. Like, it's crazy. That's just how certain people are. Like, they're great at these things and then terrible at other things that seem so simple to other people. Like, I get that social aspect 100%. And so I love seeing those little peeks into her mind and how she processes things. The other big thing about this book that she points out at the very end is, to me, this book is for almost everybody. Like, I think there's a part of what Zoe puts into this that someone can find relatable and can just enjoy, and it makes them feel something, good or bad. But she ultimately did this book for herself, and she says that, and I love that too. I love that for her, with all these thoughts that she constantly has that come and go, and she's questioning herself, why is she here? She wants to tell stories. That is why she is here. She wants to. Even if no one reads them, like, she obviously wants that. She wants part of her does want the validation, it seems. And like, of course you would, because if you make anything, like, you want people to think like, oh, this thing that you made that you thought was really good, that you poured your heart into, it is really good. And I'm telling you that, like, we do want to hear that when we make something, but it is first and foremost a book she made for herself.
Yeah. To just get her thoughts on a page. And, man, there's a couple more things that we probably need to talk about, like her going to America, but also that she met Kieran Gillen at the beginning of the book.
Yeah.
When she was supposed to go to America for a convention, but then COVID canceled that. I just thought it was really cool that she met Kieran Gillen.
There's also,
and then I was just happy that I knew that she was talking about Kieran Gillen when she said Gillen or Kieran or something like that, and I was like, oh, that's the comic book guy that we read.
Yeah, I think there's also a person that they only call Jeff, and I'm like, is that Jeff Lemire? Maybe
it's an Image guy.
Yeah, so I thought that was really cool as well. Kind of a nice little Easter egg for us, since we do read a lot of their stuff.
Image, yeah. And then also when she was going to America, she got a hotel before she got on the flight, and her room number was 8008, and that's boob. And she says, she laughs, and I laughed at that pretty good.
Because that's what I'm talking about. There's something in this book for everybody. Yeah. Even someone as complex as you. Yeah, no, it's all really good. Again, it works so well, and it's just so easily, it seems, because this is just a person's actual story. Like, obviously there's parts of this that are kind of exaggerated to kind of have fun with the art or whatever. But what is happening in like her interactions with people is just, it's so real, it's painful. And I love that. It's just to even have the courage to put all this down on paper, like to show this side of yourself to other people. You don't know what they're going to think. Like, but she did it anyway. And again, it's because she did it for her. But I love that this book exists. I had no idea this was even a thing until you told me about it. And even then I had no idea. And then I got into it. It was weird. I started reading it and I'm like, oh, okay, I get it. Very sad, very dark stuff. Like, oh, like suicide. Yep. And I just kind of found myself falling into it. Just, it completely grabbed me before I even realized what was happening. And I didn't put it down.
Zoom through it.
Yeah, I didn't put it down. Like, I didn't want to. And the only thing I was kind of worried about as I was getting to the end is like, well, how does this end? You know, because like this is 6 months. This isn't just her life. And as it went, I'm not going to lie, I got a little worried because I'm like, am I going to Google this girl? And it turns out she killed herself right after this. Like, it was a thought that crossed my mind. Yeah. She didn't, and I'm glad she didn't.
No,
but
she's still doing stuff.
Yeah, it's just, it's that good. Like, I love everything it has to say and that it does. It's just, it's a very comic. Like, I think for someone who has never read a comic, they can still enjoy what this is doing. Looking at it though, like, I think there's certain things about that industry and like what people have done with the medium before that she kind of uses that you might not get as much if you haven't read other comics. Yeah. Not like superhero comics, that's a whole different beast, but like just other stuff that Image has done, for example, kind of, it might be a little bit overwhelming, I guess is kind of where I'm going with that.
Yeah, it might not be like the first thing someone reads, but it shows what you can do with this like creativity.
Yeah, it kind of shows what's possible in the playground, basically. If like you can take that's always been the one thing that comics have over any other kind of medium, you know, movies, video games, even. It's just like,
I can literally do anything.
Yeah, if you can put it on the page, like it can happen. Basically, that is kind of what has always drawn me into it and wants me to find new kind of crazier stuff. And I haven't read anything like this before. Again, like even the use of color when it comes in, it's not often, but like
it's mostly black and gray and white, and then she fits the color in where it like makes sense too.
Yeah, even if it's just like the background's still black and white, but like, oh, this one little object is color because like that's the thing she's focusing on more than anything at that moment. Like it's really intriguing stuff. And I cannot believe that someone this young just did all of this by herself. Like, she clearly has spent a lot of time, or at least I think, I don't know, she could be, imagine Higgins if she's listening to this and just going like, these guys are all idiots.
Are completely
and they don't know.
Off base.
She's British, so she would say we're daft, I think.
Yeah.
And she's probably right. But it seems to me that she spent time with herself to kind of just figure out things, figure out what works for her. What does she like? What does she not like? What does she like about herself? What does she hate about herself? She spent more time doing that and figured more out about herself than I probably have. And I'm 5 to many years older than she is, we'll say.
Yeah, somewhere in that range.
Yeah.
There's 2 other really good things that I like that she did in this.
Go for it. I'm sorry. I'm talking up a storm on this one, so I apologize.
No, man, you got it. I am just here for
me.
Yeah, and everybody else. I really like the part where like she's been talking about the depression and like at the very beginning of the book she was like, I almost killed myself and stuff like that. And then like one of the real good parts in the book is where like she kind of tells us the one part that makes us like has made her want to live despite the fact of all that. Where she sees this girl just sitting in front of a car and the girl keeps just running in front of a car, running in front of a car, running in front of a car. And she eventually just like grabs her and like pulls her out of the way. And like the girl runs into a street and she picks her up, grabs her and waits till she can like get out of this like busy highway. And she finds this kid's like foster parents and she ends up finding out like her parents died in a car crash and they went to heaven. And all this girl wants to do is go to heaven and be with her parents that just died. And she was like, I just did something good. It's like, I might feel terrible, but maybe there is a reason I'm here, even if it's just to do one good thing for one person.
It was something like I've done something good enough to like stick around, basically.
Yeah. And then she comes back to that thought towards the end of the book where it's like she's talking about, this is the other part that I was like going to get to. She gets to the end of the book and she does like a long monologue right at the very end where she's basically wrapping up the book and she's like, I don't know exactly what to tell you guys, but like maybe it's just to be there for one person is enough. And then like at the very end, she's like, but if I leave you with anything, let it be this. And then like there's a white square and a pigeon flies in front of it.
Yeah.
And basically she's saying like, I can write anything in this book, but I'm not going to be able to tell you what the one important thing in your life is going to be.
Because you can't. No one can tell that.
You can tell that for another person.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can barely tell it for yourself is the thing, especially like when you're having thoughts like that. It's just even the simplest things don't make sense to you when you're in that kind of headspace most of the time. And I also like the kind of the brutal honesty she brings about that side of herself as well. There's a point kind of towards the back end where it's kind of like this self-realization that a part of her depression, like talking back to her, is that you're not happy because everything's going wrong in your life. You're not happy because you don't want to be happy. And like,
you want to be sad.
It's a very raw feeling that hits home for me and a lot of people. Like, and it's a thought that eats at you and you don't even realize that's what's happening. Like, it's very true. Like, there can be some terrible things happen to your life, but it is a lot of it is about how you take it and how you move forward with it. You can hold on to it and you can just let that be the one thing that you remain bitter about and cynical towards anything else coming into your life, good or bad or whatever it is you think of it. But a big part of it is you have to be willing to let yourself begin to be happy again, I guess. And there's also kind of, she talks about that flux of happiness, how it's like, you're never going to be happy all the time. It's not possible. There's going to be times where you're miserable. There's going to be times where you're happy. A lot of the times it's going to be that middle, like kind of in between void space or whatever she says. And it's almost like you're trying to chase that feeling of happiness, like get back to that as soon as possible. And that's great. And like, yeah, like you should want to be happy. Like everybody should want to be happy and enjoy life. But you also have to realize you have to be okay with being sad or just being meh.
Yeah.
And that's tough. But again, to have another person just kind of explain that, she didn't do that to set out to tell someone like me, like, oh, this is what you're doing or this is what you're feeling or whatever. It's for her. It's just this. She's putting her thoughts and her feelings on paper for herself to help her process it. And it just as an added bonus, it helps someone like me or someone else out in the world who reads this, like it helps them with that feeling. And so I love that she says she didn't do this book for anyone but herself necessarily, because it's great that she did it for herself. That's an important kind of way for her to process her emotions. But just the fact that it also does so many other things for so many other people is just, it's fantastic.
Yeah, and I really liked it. And
I'm glad you really liked it, Higgins.
I really liked it. And for something that I picked up just off of a shelf for no reason other than that the cover looked cool, it ended up being good.
You picked a real winner on this one, I will say, yeah.
And now I'm going to ask you, if you had to put it in any sort of terms, what would you rate this?
If I was to give it some kind of ranking.
Yeah, because I'm just going to forget about the cat boyfriend guy. If you want to read it, you can find out about him, but he's kind of a non-factor.
Yeah.
On her journey.
He's not the most important part. Like, he is an important part. All of this is important for her, but yeah, like, it's not the main crux of the story. Yeah. But yes, there is a cat-headed boyfriend, sort of.
That they do acid with, and then see boobs on TV. Nailed it. That's the whole
That's the whole plot. Yep.
He has kids, too.
Oh, yeah. One of his kids doesn't like her that much.
Yeah.
But, you don't blame the kid for that. Like,
yeah,
this is a stranger to that kid.
Yeah, from, like, a whole nother country.
Yeah. Oh, also, side note, there's a quick little panel reference to One Punch Man. Really enjoyed that.
Oh, yeah, it's, like, on a coffee mug?
Yeah. Big fan of that.
Yeah.
I think that's also kind of maybe what she based that one drawing off of.
Yeah, it kind of looks like her face.
Yeah, love it. Love all of it. Now, Higgins, as you might can tell, I like this book. And for that reason, I would love to rate it. And my rating will be... See, the problem is that everything in here is depressing, so I can't really play off of it.
Yeah.
Let's see. I'm going to walk up to Kieran and or Jeff and tell them I had a good time, which roughly will equate to a 8.7 out of 10.
I'm gonna give it 1,000 body worms in a bathtub.
Oh, I forgot about the worms thing. Yeah,
which will be about the same score you gave it.
Yeah, it's maybe the same thing.
Yeah.
Well, mine's an 8.7. Yours is probably an 87 out of 10. Yeah. So just what we're saying is good stuff.
Yeah, for sure. Read this, guys. Like, I can probably say everybody that listens to this might not be their thing, but maybe it might be the most thing for them. Besides, because like superhero stuff, they're not into that.
Nah, not their thing.
This is probably the closest thing to real life that we've read so far, guys. So if you want to check it out, check it out.
I love that. A little bit of twang you put on the end of that. Well, very good. I guess there's enough time to check something else out if you'd like, Higgins.
Yeah. Dun-dun-dun-dun. Readings for squares.
You almost forgot. It looked like you kind of were like, oh.
No.
Another segment.
Yeah, there is. Yeah, because I don't have anything to add for Massive Verse stuff.
Yeah, you told me you were going to Bungie's probably sometime this week or next to get the next Massive Verse.
Yeah, I'm kind of
thing.
I'm kind of like in a dead space on there right now. I've read through like pretty much everything that I have here now. And now I'm just waiting on Amazon to give me the full volumes because I don't like reading. I don't like buying solo issues of comics.
Money doesn't quite add up well, yeah.
Well, just that, and like they don't sit on a shelf well, and then like you can't really like just like look and pick the exact one that you want off the shelf because the sides are too small.
Yeah, the spine is too thin to put a title on there. Yeah, so you're like, I'm just grabbing at random here. No, I get that 100%.
I like to at least have a trade, basically.
Yeah, I get that. You need that title on the spine. I'm with you on that. I understand. So you're gonna get into that eventually. Is there anything else you've gotten into though that you would like to talk about?
I watched a lot of movies. I haven't really.
With who?
I haven't. The boys, Steve and Reese, my roommates. I haven't said Reese's name on the podcast yet. I don't think. But
I don't think so.
He's my roommate. He's from Australia.
No. I said his name last episode because he told me what a Long Island iced tea was.
Yeah.
No, Andy walked through. He'll be asleep by this point, but
yeah, he has a box in here. So
there's a box of food here for you, Andy. Get that. Helping to move tomorrow.
But yeah, I watched some movies. I played part of a game, but not quite enough to talk about it. Maybe Snoop will talk about it though.
What game?
Tears of the Kingdom.
Oh, I played about as much as you. I haven't had a lot of time to play.
Maybe we'll talk about it next month.
Honestly, everybody's talking about it.
Yeah.
I don't think I'll say much more that would add anything. Really great game, but again, everybody's saying it.
Yeah, go get that egg and yeah.
Talk to me about this movie.
I'll just talk. I watched the Super Mario Brothers movie with the roomies.
Yeah, I was there
the other week. Oh, you were there too?
Yeah,
I forgot.
Wow.
Oh yeah, you were there.
I'm not one of the boys. I'm not worth remembering that you watched the Mario Brothers movie.
Andy was there too. We can both talk about it.
Okay, cool.
Did you watch the Dungeons and Dragons with us too?
I didn't watch that. No.
So I watched both of those recently, and we watched. We watched another movie, right?
Higgins, I know you can't tell me. So
I watched Fast 9.
I didn't watch that with
I
you.
watched 3 movies in like one day, and it was honestly a whirlwind. I loved that day. I didn't do anything, and that's the first day in a long time that I haven't done anything.
Oh, good. You deserve it.
Super Mario Brothers movie, very good despite what I thought it was going to be.
It gave me exactly what I wanted, which was to look at a movie and go, I know this thing and I know that thing. And
it kind of had a plot.
Yeah. It did. It loosely had a plot, didn't it? It was like go get a person or a thing to another place or thing. Yeah.
Yeah. And like, honestly, I was worried about the voice actors for like a lot of these because I was like, how is this going to work out? Chris Pratt didn't suck as much as I thought he was going to.
Well, he's in his defense, like, is he my first pick? No, not at all.
But and I don't know who would be.
I don't either. And
besides the guy that they still put in the movie to be Italian, but I don't think you could make a whole movie where Mario's Italian and that not be something.
That voice over time would be grating.
Yeah.
And yeah, at least they gave him a little role. He was the dad.
He was the dad and the random guy.
Yeah, he was the
random
dad and the
Italian
random guy. Yeah, that movie is. It's made by Illumination, who did the Minions and things, and Despicable Me or whatever.
People love those things.
They make so much money. This movie's making so much money. I think it might be either is the highest grossing movie of this year, or it just got beat by another movie, but it's on up there is my point.
The thing about it is it's the perfect children's movie. and it has just enough of nostalgia for the parents to not hate themselves for being in the kids' movie.
Yeah, very much so. The only thing it doesn't have going for it, which is like recipe for a good kids movie, is there's no jokes that I can remember that are like they go over the kid's head, but it's like, oh, like that's a sex thing probably.
There's also no, and I heard this on somebody else talking about it. A lot of kids' movies, there's like a growth over a certain amount of time, and Mario is inherently known for being perfect. So Mario doesn't get any character development.
No, he's so well-rounded already.
We kind of get it from Luigi, where he becomes a little less of a scaredy baby to save the day at the very end. But other than that, that's the only other kids movie thing that didn't quite like fit.
Didn't land, yeah. I honestly think the best thing that could happen from this movie is they give chances to other projects that would probably be better but not make as much money. So for example, there's a little bit where if you know, it's like Luigi picks up a flashlight in some spooky woods. You're like,
Luigi's Mansion?
I would love a Luigi's Mansion movie. And with Charlie Day, are you kidding me? That
He
was my
did
big
really
complaint.
good.
Well, that was my big complaint is there's not enough of him in this movie.
Yeah, he kind of got shoved in a hole, and then they were like, we got to wait to save him.
Yeah. That did at least though give us that very depressing star character that I loved.
Yeah.
Actually, that was the adult joke only kind of point of view
Where
character.
the star just wanted to die the whole time.
Yeah, and like, you know what? Especially after reading this book, I get it.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I said, the best thing that can come from this is they go to do other things with other creators that might be better. And
there's going to be a Mario verse.
Yeah, and probably if it goes well enough for long enough, maybe a Smash Bros movie or whatever. Like you can definitely tell part of this was just throwing some stuff out there to go,
We got Mario Kart in there.
Yeah. That being said, now that you mentioned that, one downside of any future projects is, gosh, they really just did everything in this one movie, didn't they?
Well, we could for sure get a Donkey Kong movie.
Well, I just meant like part of the appeal of this one was like, oh, look at all the Easter eggs, but like, gosh, are there any more after this movie?
Yeah, well, I mean, we didn't get Rosalina, we didn't get
That's true.
We didn't get a Galaxy, we didn't get an Odyssey.
No, we didn't even get a Sunshine.
We didn't get a 64.
I'd love a Sunshine movie.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I'll be curious to see.
We got Zelda just like waiting in the distance, like waiting to get a movie made about her. They're just Nintendo is just chomping at the bit to make movies about stuff they've already made games about.
I have, and you know it's been a long time coming. So, and Illumination's not a bad pick for this, I don't think.
No, they make good stuff, and like the art fits what they did.
And one thing I also have to remind myself constantly, so I'm not one of those guys, is this was first and foremost a kid's movie, and it does a good job at being that. So yeah,
we can't get mad when kids' movies aren't good anymore.
But we should,
unless we watch Puss in Boots: The Last Wish, and it's one of the best things I've ever watched.
That's what I've heard. Have you watched that?
I watched that recently too.
I've heard it's amazing.
I'll let you watch it, and we'll talk about it next time.
Okay, I'll do that. Yeah.
All right.
How'd you watch it? You stream it on
It's
Paramount Plus?
on Peacock.
I don't know if I have Peacock.
It's $5 a month, and you can probably get
I'll get a free trial. Yeah.
There's a lot of movies on there that you probably would want to see too. They get like for $5 a month. And this sounds like an ad for Peacock. Like they put a new movie on there like at least once a month that just came out in theaters. So like it seems pretty worth it 9 times out of 10. Plus they got this show called The Resort on there with Chidi from The Good Place and the mother from How I Met Your Mother.
Oh, Kristen Milotti.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, she's great. They're both great, actually. Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel bad I don't know that guy's real name.
Yeah, no, it's a tough one.
Well, cool. Yeah. What was that called? You said The Resort.
That's The Resort.
Huh. Well, if I get Peacock, I'll check that out too.
I bought Peacock, so I might as well watch stuff that happens on it.
Well, I didn't.
Plus, I think you can get sports on it too.
Oh, that's good. Because you know I love my sport.
Yeah.
Love my sport games. Anyway, what you have anything else you'd like to talk about?
Not that's not comics or nothing that's like TV or anything like that. I think I'm good for this month's worth of talking.
Excellent.
Do you want to hop in and see if we maybe have an email?
Yeah, I can do that. In the meantime,
I'm gonna do a pee-pee.
That's not exactly where I thought we were going. But yeah, go ahead. I'll look at the email while you do the thing that you do.
All right. I was gonna hold it, but I can't hold it.
No, you're good.
Oh boy.
Gotta remember what is that again? Office Outlook. That's what's called.
Oh boy, that's something special out there.
That's good. We didn't get an email, but I'm glad that you got to do the thing that you did.
Yeah.
So, all winners in a way. Since we don't have an email to look into, we don't have any reviews, do we, by chance?
Oh man, I have to go look on my Apple Podcast app now.
Things if you could look on your Apple Podcast app, I'm gonna leave all this dead space in so people know you're taking time out of your day to look at reviews, and if they're not there, you'll be sad about it.
Ooh. I actually don't have the Apple Podcast app anymore, so let me look online.
It's all gonna be so good. I'm gonna remind myself now not to cut any of this out of the edit. There's the beep. I'm almost done with my drink, by the way.
I'm all done with my drink. It was delightful. There was no matches? That's ridiculous. That's not true.
Man.
Hold on.
Hey, this is no time to look at your Tinder, all right?
I am trying to find our podcast on the lines.
Because have you tried going into one of the episode description links that I leave at the bottom of prior episodes? Just take you right there.
Hold on. It wants me to have the Apple Podcasts app. I deleted it because I use Spotify for my podcasts now.
Higgins, you should use Spotify for music and supporting Taylor Swift. Or wait, no, opposite. You don't support Spotify because they don't support Taylor Swift. I don't really know what the situation was.
She's back on there now.
All right, well then I guess it doesn't matter.
All right, I got it downloaded so fast. I'm coming.
So after that, you can read out the reviews?
Yeah. Here we are. And we got 11 ratings that are all 5.0. That's pretty good. And we don't have anyone new.
That 11th rating though, that's new. So
yeah, thanks whoever did that.
Yeah, thank you. And anyone else wants to do that, feel free. You can leave some stars and nothing else, I think, or leave an actual review with some stars. Also send us an email if you want.
Yeah, send us an email, and you can do that at thecomixologyclub at 0-0-8studios.com.
Are you ready to sweep up? Because it sounds like that's what you're doing.
I'm already kind of doing it.
Okay, good.
I guess we're going to do this, and then Snoop's going to tell us what we're reading next month.
I'm ready. I have something.
I figured you did because I did this time, and usually when I do this time, you do that next time.
The only depressing part for me is, I don't really think I can follow up with anything as good as this. So.
That's all right. I mean, sometimes we have duds and sometimes we have winners. They can't all be good comics. That's what we're here for, so you guys know what's good.
You know what's good, and Higgins will tell you the rest of things.
Yeah, so we gave you our email just now. We told you to give us a rating and review. Hopefully it's good. You can do most of it on Apple Podcasts, but you can give a rating on Spotify and probably a couple of other podcatchers of your choice. You can find me on Twitter at MikeHiggins93 or Instagram at JSterm93, and you can find Snoop at Instagram, whether he's there or not, at Snoop_Lynch.
If I'm not there, though, then they can't really find me, can they?
It'll be there waiting for him whenever he decides to get it back.
Oh, okay.
And
I don't like that you said that as a certainty, because I know deep down you're right, but I don't like it regardless. Not a fan.
Hey, everybody likes looking at pictures of themselves.
I don't know if that's strictly true, but all right. Yeah, Higgins, you're probably right about all that. So all that's good. Contact us there. The best way to contact me is through the email Higgins mentioned.
Go check out all the stuff that Michael can do for you, and check out all the stuff that Michael's already done for you. And us.
Like what?
He's made books and stuff.
Oh, I thought you meant more as like a personal thing. Like he made your bed this morning or whatever.
There's shirts and stuff. He's gonna help. Oh, I think it's hoodies and stuff like pins.
Oh.
He's gonna help Andy move tomorrow.
Oh, he's going to help Andy move tomorrow as well.
Yeah.
I'm going to help Andy move tomorrow.
Yeah, so like he's doing all of the things.
Oh, that's good. I didn't know that.
Not only does he help other people, he helps specific people.
He'll help you move is what we're saying. Just hit him up. 0-08studios.com.
That might be the most business that at least we get.
Yeah. Well, good. All that's good. Higgins, I have a book that we can read for next month after you get back from camp if you want me to tell you about it.
Yeah, I would love to hear about it.
All right. So I didn't know what we were going to do because I knew it was my time to pick, and that's a lot of pressure for me personally. I don't know why you do it, but thank you at the same time. Anyway, when we were looking at Zoe Thorogood today, I did some deep dive into her past work. She has a lot of cover art. One thing that she did that I completely forgot existed that I've always wanted to read.
Overwatch.
Did she do Overwatch?
She did the cover for Overwatch. It was in the
Oh yeah, it's in the book or whatever.
That guy was like, "Hey, you did Overwatch," and she was like, "I just drew the cover."
She probably drew that one character everybody really likes. You know, the one with the short hair and the goggles.
I don't know the video game.
Thing is, if you saw, you'd know.
All right.
Yeah, because it's all one of those things that we all know about, even if we didn't choose to know it.
Yeah.
Like anything we know about the Kardashians, we all just know it somehow. Did we choose that? No. One thing I did choose, though, is something else she worked on. She did the cover for, and that's Ice Cream Man.
Oh, I have that.
Do you really?
I have that on the shelf over there
Oh,
somewhere.
Perfect. Have you read it?
No, I think I have the first 2 volumes, though. Oh, I've read like... I might have read the first volume.
Well, that's what we're going to read for this.
Oh, man, that's pretty creepy, too.
Yeah, it's a little weird.
I'm excited about that.
I mean, it works perfect for you because you already have the book. I don't know much about this. I know it's Ice Cream Man. I picked it also because summertime is coming around the corner.
Yeah.
But also, I've heard good things, mostly that it's real creepy and scary. So
yeah. There's an Ice Cream Man, and he's creepy and scary.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, they're all kind of creepy. Not like the person, but just the delivery, like the execution of Ice Cream Men. Like, that's creepy, right?
Yeah.
Like,
I'm going to drive around the town with a creepy song playing on my car, and it's probably not going to be that good, but, like, here's some sugar kids.
Just playing Tiny Tim on the radio.
Here's some cold sugar kids. Don't mind me.
Just
I know your parents normally tell you not to go to a man in a van with a bunch of cold sugar, but
let's make an exception.
This is my job.
gotta put food on that table somehow, right?
Yeah.
They'd be rude not to take it. So good. Well, we'll get into what makes that story tick, and Higgins, maybe we'll be around. Maybe he'll get arrested for handing out cold sugar to kids. Time will tell. In the meantime, though, I will say thanks for listening to this episode if you did. Thanks for supporting Michael if you do. Thanks for letting him support you if you do. And I'll end the night saying cheers, guys, and remind Higgins and myself we got to get that egg in us.
And I'm paraphrasing my favorite line on a t-shirt from the comic book, but I'm just here to be sad and look at boobs.
Oh, I thought yours was going to be like I went to America and all I got was a lousy STD in this t-shirt.
Oh, God, that would have been a good one, too.
That was good. That one's mine, though. You can't take that one. Yours is fine.
Oh, we did get some egg in us, though.
Oh, good.